Two security guards are talking about superhuman defensive training they must complete for their duties at the White House in the opening scene of the episode. One of the guards boasts that he and his estranged stepson are going to London together so he won't have to be there.
This was always the plan. Refreshing.
Once the area is clear.
Woman.
Clear the sport. Move. Go. Sorry.
Globe and kill the president. No.
The Mauler twins, two enormous blue guys, suddenly appeared on the streets as the ordinary discussion was about to take a dramatic turn. They quarrel over which is the original and which one is the clone as bullets from the White House's drawn machine gun defenses bounces off them innocuously. However, they both think that the president should be put to death for pursuing them. They intend to turn everything into a show in order to carry out their goal of assassinating the president. Several heroes arrive to stop the baddies just before Steve dies an awful death. These are the Guardians of the Globe, and Omniman Nola Grayson, who is in charge of the cavalry attack, is among them. Before concentrating on the twins, the heroes assist with the evacuation of the region. They defeat the menace together. As it happens, Nolan has a son named Mark. We won't have to wait long for this to come to pass. Despite all the concerns about Mark's abilities not materializing, Mark mysteriously tosses a garbage bag into the air after school.
What if I can't?
Being upright. Focus on peeing your pants on purpose. It's slow down. Come on, we're gonna try something else. It's in your legs as well. It'll be literally push off anything. We can. I didn't mean to hit you so.
Nolan quickly finds out what his son has accomplished as well, and the next day he arranges for Mark to begin training. As we quickly learn, Omniman is from the planet Viltrum, whose inhabitants go to other worlds to aid lower species. When Nolan landed on Earth, he was given the responsibility of teaching Mark how to fly and land safely. Unfortunately, the latter causes Mark to crash land spectacularly, leaving a sizable crater in its wake. It's a difficult day that ends with Mark going upstairs by himself and without saying anything. Mark sets out on his own and defeats an enemy named Titan in a desperate attempt to establish his worth.
I'm willing to put a lot of elbow grease. Think about it and get back to me.
Doing?
I need practice, Mom.
Does that you tell me about whatever and this crazy world-saving super like your dad?
Yeah, but see, that's how can I possibly
This you not be enough.
You're just gonna keep prying if I'm a little.
It's okay to be scared. It's not.
Unfortunately, he also causes a lot of damage, which is why Nolan shows up there and takes his kid away, in particular to get a new super suit. Mark begins to question his own skills as he attempts to think of a moniker for himself. When learning more life lessons, Mark decides to call himself Invincible. A beautiful montage of all these distinct guardians and their hardship is shown to us as the program comes to a conclusion, in particular, witnessing the collective mobilization.
Free. I'm not worried about
Sorry.
It's intense.
So good, that's it. Oh, yes.
Going. Don't worry about it.
The previously described attractiveness quickly vanishes when all the heroes are gathered together. Rather, Shock and sheer dread take their place. All of a sudden, Omni-Man shows up and starts fighting the Guardians. Red Rush's skull is shattered like a watermelon and is totally annihilated. The Guardians are eventually eliminated one by one by a blood-soaked Omni-Man, who leaves them in a gory heap on the ground. He also passes out as he surveys the distraction. Mark swiftly adjusts to his new existence after gaining superhuman abilities, but here goes nothing shows that it's more difficult than he anticipated. Additionally, a new adversary is shown to us during Omni-Man's absence. Steve and his stepson are shown outside Buckingham Palace in the opening scene of Here Goes Nothing. When a bugger falls on them unexpectedly, the child calls Steve Dad, which causes him to cry. Debbie, meanwhile, somberly continues her day despite missing her spouse. She finds out that Omni-Man is a state-of-art hospital after her son Mark assures her not to worry.
Go.
Tortilla, you're
You're out of meat.
They're killing me faster than I...
The Guardians and Omni-Man are taken to hospital by GDA soldiers as they arrive at the start of Invincible's second episode. The director has a lot of questions after witnessing the carnage and seeing all the Guardians ripped apart. Cecil Steedman confirms that all the Guardians have been killed as Debbie and Mark are taken to meet Omni-Man. Although the truth is clearly being masked here, they think a supervillain is to blame. As the number of heroes decline, Invincible must go out and thwart an imminent extraterrestrial invasion. Hordes of aliens led by the Martian Emperor are marching through a gateway in this terrifying scene. When all hope is gone, a whole new group of heroes, including Atom Eve, who has the ability to generate pink force fields, come to Invincible's aid. The aliens abruptly begin to shrivel and fall to the ground for no apparent reason. However, as these flags and aliens abruptly turn and go, the underlying cause of this is still unclear, at least initially. As they do so, Mark laments that he was unable to accomplish more as he returns to the GDA carrying a human victim from this conflict. Upon arriving at the murder scene, Director Cecil witnesses firsthand the destruction caused by the flags. He talks to Robot there, who concludes that because time was passing more quickly for these aliens in this realm, they were shriveling up and dying. In any case, Cecil quickly moves to the Guardian's lair, where demon investigator Damien Darkblood touches the blood and pieces together the event of the night before. It's telling, though, that he can't blame Omni-Man for this, at least not yet. Invisible visits the teen team at their offices later that day. The others get along well with Mark. They even swear to message him if they ever need his assistance. As the Flaxans, under the command of Martian Emperor, once more return to the scene, their assistance arrives sooner than anticipated. However, they are more strong at this time and defeat majority of the teen team. That is, until the Martian Emperor is knocked unconscious by Invincible's sudden action. The team eliminates the alien and saves the day. Serves as a key to their healing girl. Mark hastily returns to the hospital to visit his father when Omni-Man is awake. It turns out that the woman Mark saved is dead even though he is still alive. Mark takes this more seriously than Nolan, who dismisses it as a result of their work. However, Cyclops, known as Allen the Alien, poses a new menace in space. Nolan advises Mark to handle this, so he goes up into space to face him. There, Allen calls a timeout which abruptly ends the altercation. He reveals himself to be a coalition of planets assessment officer. He only stopped by to confirm that there are guardians on the planet, which ultimately resulted in a peaceful conclusion between the two. The Martian Emperor makes a third appearance on Earth, and regrettably, this time is definitely a charm. When he lands with far better equipment, Omni-Man ultimately appears and changes the course of the conflict. Mark must watch in disbelief as he slams the Martian Emperor into one of the portals. A sleek black and red montage follows as Omni-Man destroys the entire realm by himself within the extraterrestrial world. There is complete carnage, and the scene ends with him returning home and dismissing this distraction. News of the Guardians' death breaks as he is giving Mark and Debbie embraces.
Be one of them.
One of them. Get out.
In the second episode of Invincible, Mark Grayson joined the team to fight the Flaxans, marking the beginning of the superhuman development. No one suspected Nolan or Omni-Man of killing the Guardians of the Globe when he eventually awoke from his coma. However, Cecil Stedman, the head of the Global Defense Agency, may finally be beginning to suspect something. A ceremony honoring the Guardians of the Globe is held at the beginning of the episode. Omni-Man delivers a powerful statement in their honor that is shown globally, despite being the one who cruelly killed them. Along with new heroes who will undoubtedly rise to the occasion, he also promises the people of Earth that he will be there to defend them. In order to protect the site of the dead from souvenir seekers, Nolan later presides over a private ceremony for the families of the soldiers. Nolan delivers the eulogy once more, and this time it's much more poignant. After the service, Nolan reprimands Damien Darkblood for attending a private burial after noticing him. In response, Damien quietly suggests that he is aware that Nolan is concealing something regarding the Guardian's attack.
What's up with her?
No idea.
My pleasure to introduce the new...
Right? Somebody ought to teach you.
Still.
Blast that smile off your
So sorry.
hard.
The demon investigator attributes his accusing tone on his poor comprehension of human communication and behaviors when Nolan pushes back. Additionally, he requests that Nolan contact him if he remembers anything. Rather, Robot conducts a number of experiments to identify his ideal group. After 3 teen team members are selected, Atom Eve abandons them and departs. This is because Rex cheated on her during an earlier argument. Black Samson is introduced in her place. Omni-Man is watching all of this drama play out, including a major altercation between Monster Girl and Rex. He calls them all pitiful and sneers up at them from above. When Amber arrives for her planned date with Mark, everything goes wrong right away. Cecil confirms he has a huge task for the child when he answers the ringing phone and comes in to see how Mark is doing. It is up to Doc, Seismic, and Atom Eve to stop the renegade villain from wreaking devastation over Mountain Rushmore.
A day are too much for me.
I didn't...
You understand. You're a robot.
Mix, I'm talking about the dirty clothes. It's also into spicy foods, stand-up...
Mix?
Is it that obvious?
You mind if I borrow it?
Sorry. Must be...
Well, then the whole concept of personal pride...
When there are no more heroes available, Invincible and Atom Eve intervene and battle Doc. When there are no more heroes available, Invincible and Atom Eve intervene and battle Doc. They both successfully repel the menace and defeat this adversary before it's too late. After an hour out, Mark rushes home and apologizes to a very irritated and bored Amber. Because of his fast thinking, Mark is able to save the day. However, in an attempt to make a new version of himself, the original betrays his sibling and sacrifices him before traveling to the major city by himself. Robot appears in the GDA control room as the camera pans out. This suggests that he is playing both roles, liberating the Mauler twins from their captivity and serving as the previously described benefactor. Damien Darkblood visits the Grayson home at the end of the episode and talks to Debbie about the massacre. He acknowledges that Omni-Man's response was inadequate, but he departs as Nolan arrives. Playing the shifty eye rolls while scanning the room, Nolan appears to be aware of what is happening as well. Deborah is working on the computer when Damien Darkblood unexpectedly arrives at the Nolan house in mid-credit scenes. He tells her that he is still looking for answers about the murder of the Guardian of the Globe and apologizes for frightening her. She is forcefully given the impression by Damien that Nolan is not speaking the truth. The devil responds that he pursues justice for others in order to save his own soul from having to go back to hell when Deborah questions why he is so involved in the case. He goes on to inquire as to why Nolan hasn't informed her of the inquiry thus far. Nolan switches on the lights and Damien vanishes before she can respond. Nolan believes that someone else was present, but she tells her husband that she was just going to bed. He recognizes Damien after seeing his breath.
Why do you care?
Debbie?
Bryant informs a worker that they were moving too slowly after getting off of a vehicle in the midst of the desert, but he also says that the terrain was harsh. A hidden tunnel is revealed as the workers raise a boulder. Bryant gets down and moves everyone. After reaching the bottom, he goes to his master's grave and revives him, but shortly after, he cries out for assistance. When the workers discover he has brought Kaha back to life, they flee. The large stone door collapses on top of Kaha as he emerges from the hidden path. Omni-Man informs Invincible that since he was flying too low, he is ruining the desert. The latter discovers that he has produced a large sand cloud as he turns around. Omni-Man informs Invincible that becoming a Viltrumite was not simple and advises him to push himself in order to increase his speed and stamina. His father suggested that the last person to climb Mount Everest washed dishes for a week after Omni-Man's plan, and Invincible attempted to follow but lost control. After ascending Mount Everest fast, Omni-Man advises his kid to breathe deeply because the air was thin. A hiker who had arrived at the peak was taken aback to discover them both there, but they quickly descended. Omni-Man admits to Invincible that he occasionally loses sight of the planet's beauty, and he informs that Viltrum was radically different, having delivered peace to millions of galaxies, put an end to hostilities throughout the cosmos, and raised alien cultures out of the mud. His father informed him that he had been lost for a long time after his grandparents passed away and that he saw the opportunity to start again by traveling to Earth. Invincible said he was amazed that he had left everything behind to travel to a world he had never seen before. When he informed him that Debbie had transformed Earth from a place of employment to a home, Invincible said he wasn't sure he could leave everything behind. Omni-Man said that it required sacrifice to be like them. After telling his son that the last person home would pick up the trash for a month, Invincible left before he could finish and gained an advantage. However, he was swiftly passed by his father. An orchard freezes back at the Graysons as Damien Darkblood arrives and surveys the area. He observes Cecile and the police officers pointing firearms at the demon while he is taking notes. Nolan had warned them about him, Cecile informs Darkblood. Invincible is aware that Martians are subterranean. As he raises a large boulder, several Sequids assault him. He discards them and enters the secret passageway. There he discovers what appears to be a Martian crystal. He is told not to move after discovering that he is encircled. They are informed by Invincible that he was not there to cause harm. Invincible informs the Martians that they should keep their dogs on leashes, but they are shocked that he was untouched by the Sequid. Mark mockingly tells him that he was greatly impacted by them. Another Sequid rushes at him, which he swiftly pulls off and discards. Invisible is then asked by the Martians if the other people were like him. Despite his near-death experience in space, Cecil informed Invincible that he required him to remain hidden until something went wrong and to accompany him on the mission for the Martians who lived underground and kept to themselves. Invincible settles down by the spaceship, but as he eats into his fully hardened sandwich, he dislikes it. As they stroll across Rome, Nolan and Debbie arrive at El Osteria Donato, a posh restaurant that Nolan had reserved and that Debbie says is brand new. When Invincible awakens inside the spaceship, he sees Mars. When they do land, he embarks before everyone. After the astronauts inform Houston that they have arrived, one of them discovers Invincible, but the others don't. So he tells them to disregard it and they start working as Mark examines Amber's photos and remarks that the mission was a complete failure. After wondering if the astronauts had a charger on the shuttle, when his phone died, he discovers that they had been removed. After being taken before the Emperor of Mars, Mark is greeted with open arms. He meets the Martian uncomfortably and explains that he was sent to Mars to safeguard other Earthmen and that he needs them to return alive. He advises him to handle his squid dogs and inform him that they should start moving. The Martian informs him that the sequids were the reason the humans were taken prisoners because they were a species that destroyed the whole cosmos before colliding with Mars. He reveals that while the sequids were weak and dispersed on their own, they were unbeatable when they had the right hosts. He continues by saying that the Martians' shape-shifting skills helped them fend off the sequids, but they could quickly rise up and ravage Earth and Mars even if one of them managed to reach the humans. Darkblood is shocked as Donald begins the procedure, stating that he never imagined Cecil would defend Omnimon. There is a worse place than hell waiting for Cecil, according to an enraged Darkblood, but when Darkblood is seized by shackles and sent to hell, Cecil is unaffected. After cleaning Olga's house, Debbie discovers that it is in disarray. She continues after glancing at a photo of herself and Joseph. She continues to stare at the photo while she shows them the house. The robot walks up to his real self, a distorted human, and shows him the blood sample from Rex explode. The robot then declares that the first phase has started. Debbie then informs Nolan that she will surpass the monthly record if she were to sell 2 more homes. Nolan assured her that she could do it and informed her that Cecil had apologized after fresh evidence surfaced. At the start of Invincible's 5th episode, Invincible himself stops an enemy named Kill Cannon by assuming the role of a superhero. However, this results in his arriving for Amber's meeting 20 minutes late. The main focus of the drama in this episode is the ongoing toll that this balance between being a hero and being a typical adolescent takes. On the other hand, Titan is shown searching for a certain chip that is essential to his employer, Machine Head, as we quickly discover. However, Titan wants this to be his last task, but Machine Head won't have it that way. He is reassured by this mafia-like boss that this is his life at this point and that Titan must continue working because he is far too skilled at it.
Yeah, so you tried your best and we all walk away.
Do not.
For a guy with gravel for fingers.
Paid in full. I'm done.
If you didn't just finish paying... See, I know you're gonna kill me.
Titan goes home and informs his family of the situation. Given that they are also impacted by this area of employment, Vanessa and Fiona are not happy. He tells them, nevertheless, that he has a strategy. Invincible's name will be painted in yellow on his rooftop as part of this scheme. When Mark finally arrives, he greets Titan once more. Titan claims he is trapped in this nightmare because of a debt he owes and wants to topple Machine Head. Mark talks to his father about the decision he must make since he is torn. Nolan asserts that supporting Titan is beneath him, while Debbie supports her kid because she disapproves of her husband's carefree demeanor. Debbie is actually beginning to question his legitimacy. She sends Nolan on a major international errand the next day. She has 20 minutes to examine the house and find anything that could connect her to the Guardians of the Globe slaughter, based on the distance and speed calculations. She discovers the bloodied uniform of Omni-Man with a few minutes to spare. Instead of selecting and choosing the good folks, Mark chooses to aid Titan, doing the right thing and benefiting everyone. Mark does let Titan know that they must hurry since he has a rendezvous with Amber later that day. The Mauler brother, meantime, makes a second clone for himself. The robot arrives and requests their assistance while he is working. He promises to make it worthwhile for him to receive updates on tissue development. Titan and Invincible break in with Machine Head, but their plot is quickly foiled as it is revealed that our villain has enlisted a group of thugs to eliminate the two. They can't handle these superpowered adversaries until the new Guardians of the Globe appear and assist in reversing the situation. In any case, to start with, Mark finds the ground covered with blood, Monster Girl's face gets smashed in, and Black Samson also loses.
You know a lot about me.
You said you took care of him.
Except...
Come on, I'll show you around.
Up and use you to pave my...
Paramedics show up just in time to pick up the three heroes and take off as the squad finally stops their enemies. Titan betrays Mark by revealing that he will now be in command of the city when Machine Head is captured. We cut across to the lab as he hugs his wife and daughter. There, medical professions put a lot of effort into trying to combat the Viltrumites using Mark's blood as the key. Time is running out and nothing seems to be working. As the episode ends, Machine Head is arrested. It's revealed that Titan's plan all along was to take over Machine Head's organization. His children visit him at the headquarters. His eldest daughter is Amber. This is getting awkward for Mark. In the epilogue, Cecil's organization are analyzing Mark's blood. The scientist says Viltrumite cells will not die. A douchebag named Dustin Cheston approaches a gathering of sorority ladies while intoxicated on the campus of the functional Upstate University in the opening scene of the episode. A person comes out of the woods and gives him a sedative injection after he refused. When Doe wakes up later, he is tied to a gun. He teases his captor at first, but his blaster instantly gives way to horror when he sees some dissected and robotically altered corpses hanging about him. Then Doug loses it all as he looks down and discovers that a metal claw has been installed in lieu of one of his own arms.
Oh. No, I was...
It's not your fault.
Force me an immovable object.
He told me he wasn't going to take the bait.
You do look like you got run over.
And I've thought a lot about that these last... Want to hang out sometime?
I need to help my dad with work. I'm in class, but also handsome.
Come in. I'm sorry, if you...
I don't have to wait for some alien...
Me.
The guy coolly cuts out Dog's vocal cords after refusing to comply with his captor's plea for him to relax. The Guardians go to Duplicate's burial in the season's most heartbreaking scene. In a tearful funeral, the Immortal describes how Kate thought her abilities were a blessing even though they were the result of a family curse. He continues by saying that Kate's positivity and desire to serve others, which were fueled by her conviction that the world is a good place, were her true strengths. Following the burial, Black Samson, Carrie Payton, comforts him and he claims that even though he has mourned for all of his previous loves, Kate's passing affects him in a unique way. This scenario is willing to depict the character at a vulnerable time despite the significance of the Immortal's name. Taking animated characters with superhuman skills and letting them cope with very human emotions is maybe what the series has always done best. As Mark starts reading Nolan's book, he comes to understand that the tales they describe are genuine and that they could contain the secret to save his father from death. Cecile is unsuccessful in persuading the immortal to take a vacation, but as their dispute intensifies, they learn that an extraterrestrial is traveling to Earth. Unbeknownst to them, this visitor is Mark's friend Alan, the extraterrestrial, said Rogen. Mark stops the immortal before it can assault Alan. Alan's back and forth with Mark was a significant highlight of this limited participation in Season 1.
You steal.
Your work doesn't
Get either.
How long have you been? Superhero is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me.
Hey, I'm Amber.
Yikes. Well, I'll be back
For him.
I need to go after Amber.
See you later.
My head.
Your recovery was tenuous.
Tell me where you at in your location.
Rick? Rick?
No, just
To me. I just wanted to swing.
Same thing. She's transferring here next semester.
The character has a function in the plot even if Rogen's voice acting provides much needed comedic relief to this series. It appears from his presence in this episode that his role will only get bigger from here. As the story comes to a close, Nolan is imprisoned in a Viltrumite jail and denies the Viltrumite Empire its final opportunity at atonement. After throwing up a sequid, Russ is repossessed as the episode shifts to him acclimating to life on Earth. Angstrom Levy is shown in the post-credit sequence putting on a costume in a different dimension before opening a number of portals that would allow him to return home to avenge Mark. Debbie wakes up in Invincible Episode 7 to discover Nolan standing on the table below, his uniform bloody. Now that the truth is out, chaos is on the horizon. When Nolan acknowledges that he wasn't being controlled, Debbie becomes enraged and orders him to leave. She calls Mark and tells him to come home as Omni-Man explodes through the ceiling.
Get out of my...
Come on, this is... Amber, or why I don't show? Because
Weeks ago.
then why
I
are...
don't give a shit. I'd like to be alone.
We start partying.
Guess how long?
Putting up with this guy. You're welcome.
Die.
He had his head on the bench and he was...
Sadly, all she receives is his voicemails. Cecile's troops show up to take her away at that same moment. When they reach headquarters, the team mulls over whether or not they can defeat Omni-Man. Unfortunately, Mark is only one who can compete with him head to head, and it's unclear at this time if he will. Well, Mark's issues are more serious. After his recent absences and disappointments, Amber steers clear of him entirely. Amber tells her that she actually already knew who he was when he tells her the truth. The fact that he kept it from her irritates her more. Mark is defeated and takes off. In the midst of all this, Robot welcomes the Mauler twins and reveals his true scheme. He has been cultivating an organic body to move inside. The Mauler twins have tampered with that body, but Robot is shrewd enough to see right through this trick. This boy's body is basically a copy of the robot's intellect. Rudy awakens as a human-robot hybrid because of the neural connection chip that the Mauler twins inserted. We no longer have the robot we once knew. Rudy has the ability to mentally manipulate a variety of robots, including replicas of the mental monster that led the new Guardians of the Globe. He dispatches the Mauler twins with ease. Returning to the Guardians' boss, Robot Rudy makes his introduction. He says he has taken these actions in an effort to better understand Monster Girl. Robot changed the boy's DNA in an attempt to get closer after realizing that she thought Rex was fascinating. Big news interrupts the group who are unsure on how to interpret this. The Omni-Man is moving. Monster Girl is greeted by her friends upon her return to the Guardian's headquarters, but she becomes uneasy when Robot starts to malfunction.
$400 billion for the world's and left for here as quickly as I could.
Ask first. That's what you think?
It's yours.
No! Don't give him. Oh my god, I don't even know.
I did.
I came out here
You came out here.
because Amber dumped you. But trust me,
Meanwhile, Robot, also known as Rudy Connor, approaches the Mauler twins about using a DNA sample of Rex blood to create a healthy human body that is just a teenager old. As the original Rudy's insistence, Rudy commits himself, transferring his consciousness to his new body. Rudy eventually betrays the Maulers. Cecile's call for the new Guardians to gather ends this treachery, and Rudy returns to base to surprise his friends. The Guardians discover they were put together to fight Omni-Man as he clones his body using Rex's DNA and admits what he did with the Maulers. Invincible saves his father from the kaiju without realizing what has been happening, and the two of them work together to defeat it. After plundering the Immortal's grave, the Maulers disclose that they have been attempting to bring him back to life. Upon regaining consciousness, the Immortal furiously remembers his death and fights Omni-Man in a titanic struggle, while Invincible defeats the kaiju. Invincible shows there to assist his father while news helicopters broadcast the battles across the world, only to be appalled when Omni-Man murders the Immortal viciously, once again revealing the Viltrumites' secret to the stunned audience. In the Season 1 finale of Invincible, Episode 8, Mark discovers the truth about his father. As it happens, Nolan misrepresented his own planet. He is actually a member of Viltrum's elite task force, which is tasked with destroying planets and elevating the Viltrum to the status of the greatest species in the cosmos. Now that Omni-Man's brutal killings are public knowledge and that the Global Defense Agency is doing all in its power to stop him, Invincible has a long overdue conversation with his father to find out what he has been up to.
Map their trajectory. I need to know where they're going.
Holy fuck. Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ, you're okay.
Roger that.
When confronted with his actual Viltrumite objective, Mark Grayson makes a decisive choice about his allegiances, which sets up the series' most dramatic and violent confrontation to date. At first, Mark is shocked by what he has seen and believes that his father is being mentally manipulated in an attempt to bring him back to reality. In order to establish who among the Viltrumites is genetically superior, years of deadly battle led to the development. Despite the heightened society being told Mark about his dad, Omni-Man reassures his son that he has the control over his own family. Omni-Man was chosen to have Viltrumite on Earth in order to aid the Viltrumites in their conquest of the globe as they spread their goals throughout the universe, subjugating other worlds and imposing their rules. When Mark rejects his father's philosophy, Omni-Man finally stages a violent protest at his son's cost. When Mark is unhappy, he finally confronts his father. Mark becomes covered in blood as the two engage in a vicious, violent battle. His youngster is left a bleeding mess as Nolan completely beats him up. As a result, this brings up memories of Nolan watching his kid play baseball.
But you've changed. You were happy.
I will. Begins now.
Gear up. We can't.
What is it?
Nolan's love for Mark appears to be one of his vulnerability, and he is now beginning to realize this as well. Rather than arguing, Mark assures his father that he will always have him even if the world ends. Omniman launches himself into space, tears running down his cheeks. Cecil and his crew take Mark in for treatment when the world is shaken by the truth about Omniman, keeping him hidden for the time being. In a symbolic gesture, the Guardians of the Globe return to their base to clean the walls of blood. They come together as a team and begin training as a result. Cecile quietly pushes Mark to take command as Omniman races away from Earth and departs for a distant location. Debbie is clearly still feeling conflicted about what transpired. She actually tears while sitting in bed. She has clearly been deeply affected by Nolan's comparison of her to a pet and his statement that he is unimportant. She eventually returns to meet Art, where she sits drinking with him and laments her good fortune. Under the GDA's medical supervision, Mark heals from his wounds and learns of humanity's preparations for the impending Viltrumite invasion, which includes the resurrection of the immortal. Mark declines Cecile Stedman's invitation to join him and continue his heroic career, preferring to take a break. Before Mark meets with Allen the alien, who informs him that the coalition of planets is getting ready to fight the Viltrumite and that Omniman is likely a wanted man among his people because he failed to conquer Earth, Amber ignites her connection with Mark as Debbie and Art provides consolation over cocktails. As the rest of the world starts to move on, Mark reclaims his superhero persona and promises to be prepared for any Viltrumite that threatens his home while graduating high school. Doc Seismic now leads an army of magma-based monsters. Titan establishes control over the crime syndicate. Battlebeast keeps hunting new victims in space. The Flaxans have rebuilt their own empire and vow to exert revenge on Omniman and the Earth. The Sequids take over the human facilities on Mars, and Cecile has D.A. Sinclair create a new future for Invincible by assembling an even larger troop of cyborg soldiers. A whole slew of changes is about to happen back on Earth. A stylish montage then depicts a range of heroes and villains getting ready for Season 2, but for the time being, Mark returns prepared to complete high school. As one might anticipate, the altercation between Nolan and Mark was just as intense and violent. The brutality of Nolan's attempt to discipline his son is startling.